everybody. I am LJ, and welcome to your daily wrestling news here at the Wrasslin for Life Network. And just a quick reminder, we are having a stupendous, spectacular WrestleMania weekend starting tonight with Impact, GCW, and a little bit of I'm not really sure when Supercard of Honor starts, but we'll be watching it when it starts. I think it starts tomorrow, so you just keep an eye on that because we are going to be here. But if you're new here, there's something that we always start with. That's right. Today in wrestling history, I love history and I love wrestling. So today we have, that's right, we got some Four Horsemen history today. 9 years ago today, a little bit ago, not too far back, Ric Flair reunited with the Four Horsemen members Tully Blanchard, J.J. Dillon, Arn Anderson, and Barry Windham in his farewell address on Raw from Orlando, Florida. And, this would be the first and only televised reunion of the most successful incarnation of the group like until they were inducted into the Hall of Fame, of course. But this was the spontaneous, oh my God, they have reunited. I could not get a specific picture of that night because the internet is weird. But this is the best I got, and I hope everybody can appreciate the wonderful day of, you know, we are for life, but they are the Four Horsemen, and that group has been iconic and so influential over the entire wrestling industry, all throughout since their inception onward. So, I think that's very important to remember the Four Horsemen, especially because a good few of them have appeared in AEW. You never know when that reunion's going to happen again. Um. But now we are on to the news, and our first news story today. Look at how professional we are getting. But yes, that is a huge quote because it is all about John Cena talking about Max Caster and saying he is doing a better version of what he did. He says he is extremely gifted and remember hearing from him first. So he checked out his raps out of the blue, saw he was doing spectacular, wished him the best of luck, gave his information to people to give to him. So, and he also says that if he can give any advice, it's because he's punching far above his weight class. He is very gifted. He's gifted enough to rhyme the beat live, where I kind of did my stuff a cappella to let the punches sink in. So he says even though there are some differences between them, you know, he's doing a wonderful version, a wonderful updated version. And yes, he is free. He still is freestyling, even though it's a little bit written. He got to run it by the boss. But it's still very impressive that he raps. People call him, oh, you're just a knockoff John Cena. But it's very nice to hear from John Cena himself saying he's not a knockoff. We're just different. And he's doing pretty good. So he did have a little hot water there at one point. But now his raps seem to be pretty good. We also have a little bit of a quote from John Cena. Look at all this fanciness we got going on today. He was speculating on what would make a great villain, and he says, as a heel, you should always lean toward the side of virtue. So I think someone who thinks that they're doing something virtuous is really genuinely evil. And he's not, and that to be a good heel, that he brought in the shades of gray argument. He discussed that even fighting, it's not some kung fu style exhibition. We have to discuss why we're fighting, figure out the storyline. So very happy to hear that even John Cena very much approaches wrestling not as just spot after spot or a paycheck. He does want to tell a very good story, and that is awesome. He is back at telling stories because he's in Peacemaker, he's in this, he's in that, he's everywhere. So, maybe he will come back for a little bit of a reunion one day, but I think right now he is having fun telling stories in other mediums. Now, on to a little bit of different news. But again, look at I'm just more proud that I could get the text on the picture again. Um, for all about Dax Harwood and a few things on FTR's upcoming match with the Briscoes at the Ring of Honor Supercard. Yeah. And which is happening tomorrow, so you guys got to come by tomorrow to see that. You know them damn boys gonna be fighting FTR. It should be a classic. I personally can't wait, and it seems like Dax Harwood can't wait either because he points out that they have been raised differently, but they are both equally very tough. They're both different versions of that strong farm boy, country boy, and big beefy boys too. So they yes, they said that they have, exchanged pleasantries and they got different pleasantries, but they are very excited to get into the ring with the Briscoe brothers. And yes, you can stop and pause and read the whole thing because just in case you are the biggest fans or in case you're not, you can skip right over that. But they did also drop a little few hints here. And this is what the hint was. They were asked about Bret Hart possibly coming to AEW to be FTR's manager since recently they did fire Tully Blanchard, and I think they have turned babyface as well. So they were quoted in saying anything is possible. I mean, this is professional wrestling. Bret Hart was there at the beginning and he could come back again. There are many rumors about him being in better physical shape recently. So I don't know what's going to happen. Although I do think that would be a great mentor for FTR because they would probably look up to him so much and it would just mean a lot to them. Now on to our next story. Hello, Kurt Angle. Oh, you know by the tone of my voice, you know what's coming now. Kurt Angle thinks the fundamental aspect of wrestling has receded. In an interview with Shaq Wrestling, SHAK Wrestling, Shaq Wrestling, um, he, yeah, he spoke about what he thinks is the lack of wrestling in the current wrestling landscape, saying it was more about spots now. Really? I'm just gonna keep reading. I'm just gonna stay calm and I'm gonna keep reading. Yeah. A lot of athletes now just do a bunch of spots. Nothing really makes sense. It's more of a spot fest. What story are you telling? These things tell a story. Psychology is the most important thing in wrestling, and you want to have great psychology, a good storyline. The baby faces shines, the heels shine, everybody shines. So if you have a certain psychology in wrestling, you're going to great. It's just two athletes going at it, and I think that's where we lost a little bit of our psychology now. Breathe with me, everybody. Okay. Do a positive mental attitude. Don't worry. I got you. Don't worry. He also said, that being said, Kurt also admitted that a lot of pro wrestling doesn't make sense and hadn't made sense to him since the beginning. In particular, he pointed out how many wrestling moves don't actually hurt and would be ineffective in a real fight. No shit, it's wrestling. Okay, no, we're back. I'm here. Okay. He talks about more examples and this and that. Oh, and a guy hits the ropes and they get back again. I don't understand that. It just doesn't make sense to me. They do a leapfrog, and if you tackle blah 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 blah.
Shut up!
Look, Kurt, I get it. You are a gold medalist wrestler who will always be in the record books, always be an icon, always be relevant in the wrestling circles. You will be an inspiration, and You're a legend in wrestling. But I take it you're either not watching any other wrestling other than anything WWE puts out? Because I hate to tell you this, but a lot of other companies, a lot of other people do psychology and long-term storytelling really well to the point that actual just moments and looks at people were some of the highlights of Hangman getting his title. Matt Jackson looking at him and slowly going was such a big deal. It that yes, Hangman won the belt, but you saw how all of that storytelling over years had come culminated together. Even a sign in the corner of even in a sign in the front row, kind of off to the corner, that Kenny Omega sees when he lost his title that said, "What would Kota Ibushi think?" And he stopped, stared at it for 5 seconds, and it meant everything. So I'm not really sure what you're talking about on how psychology is missing and it's all just a spot fest. Look, if you hate the flippity flips, go take a seat next to Bruce Pritchard and you guys can whine together. But so far, go keep yelling at clouds, you old man. Now, on to our next story. We have, of course, Brody King. Since he's been all elite, he has talked about how um guys, both MJF and Darby both reached out to him to multiple times over months before he even got there asking, "When is your contract up? When are you coming here?" And obviously, he was so rejoiced with that. And he knows when the fallout of Ring of Honor, the gears started turning a little bit more. And I think everything kind of just fell into place with him because he was thinking, if I go over here, if I go to AEW, can I still fight for Ring of Honor? And then obviously he gets there, he learns Tony's bought it, everything is fine. So it was very great to hear that, and that Darby and MJF, those two cold-hearted people on TV, were reaching out to this wonderful guy to make sure that he was coming to that because they thought he was a very good match for their company, and obviously he has been. And I'm sure Malachi was out there like, "Hey, dude, are you coming over yet? We got room. House of Black's looking pretty empty." So I'm very happy he is there. He said that he did choose the. He did talk to Tony about choosing the Brody King name and said that it was much more Bruiser Brody. But like Cody said, you gotta have a lot of balls to be called Brody in AEW right now. So he does. He's brought all of he's brought all of his talent, and him along with all the other members of the House of Black look very happy in their own way. So, but he did also have a very interesting story that I just had to share with you guys here. He talked about after first signing his first at a week after signing first with and debuting for Ring of Honor, he had to wrestle Jake Atlas a little bit ago, like all that time when he finally signed with Ring of Honor. He said he got a spin kick to the mouth, felt like his tooth broke, and it was like a back molar, so he ended up going to the emergency dentist at 1 in the morning. They had to pull the tooth, and even though the dentist was super gentle, there was still a hairline fracture beneath it. So they ended up pulling the tooth. The jaw fully broke. This is around Christmas, too. And they had an emergency surgery on his jaw, which he considers the worst day of his life. But this is why I included it. Not because, yes. So that was the best picture I could get of a jaw wiring shut. Everything else was horribly gruesome. So yeah. Um, the funniest part and why I included this was that the doctor came in the next day, he says, and said, "All right, you can absolutely not get hit in the face for 6 months, like you can't wrestle. You can't do anything." And as soon as he left, Brody King looked at his wife and said, "Well, that's not happening." Texted the booker of Ring of Honor, told him what has been happening to his jaw over the weekend, and now it had been wired completely shut, but says, "I'm completely okay with doing all the shows." So he did his first month of Ring of Honor. Every time you watch the first month of Ring of Honor with Brody King, his jaw was wired shut. I thought that was absolutely just mind blowing because wrestlers, they somehow get hurt, but they work through injuries. Like Kenny Omega was wrestling with vertigo for months. Like, how do you even do that? And I can't imagine wrestling with your jaw shut. Like, one punch and you'd be in so much pain. So I have no idea. I hope he was okay. I'm sure his wife, I'm sure his wife just rolled her eyes and said, "Oh, honey, of course you want to wrestle. Yes." Because, yes, it seems like all wrestlers are like, "I'm going to be wrestling until I'm in the grave. And even then, I'm going to be wrestling." So I do admire that a lot about wrestlers, even though it can be a little dangerous for your health. But now we are talking about, that's right, tonight's card. Not only is there Impact Wrestling, but there is also the first night of Joey Janela's Spring Break, part of the GCW Collective. And why is it called the Collective? Because not only does it have GCW's Planet Death, which is happening after Joey Janela's Spring Break tonight, they also have Effie's Big Gay Brunch, which I will be covering also on stream. So you might have one person watching Spring Break, another, and then I think we'll be covering Planet Death though on the Sunday because we are not staying up past midnight. I'm pretty sure everybody might fall asleep on stream, and I don't think YouTube allows you to sleep on stream. But that's okay because we will be covering Spring Break and Effie's Big Gay Brunch. It's mostly just me covering Effie's Big Gay Brunch while the guys are covering Joey Janela's Spring Break, but that's okay. I'm happy to be here. It's all part of the collective, and yes, it does involve wrestling. But it's WrestleMania season, so I thought let's cover as much stuff as possible. But that is really, I think, that is all the news. We have a fantastic schedule of wrestling events going on this weekend, starting tonight. So come back later. We will be here all from probably, I want to say, actually, I'm not going to pick the time because I'm in Central Time. And if I say a time, it'll probably be wrong where everybody else is. So I'm just going to go right into our last segment. That's right, the question of the day. If you're new here, I ask a question every single day that I do the news, and today's question is, what is your favorite style of wrestling? Greco-Roman, Bryan Danielson, Kurt Angle style, classically trained wrestlers, or AAA flips, tricks, big moves, multi-men moves that happen, liquid wrestling basically? Or do you love the Japanese strong style, Mr. Minoru Suzuki? Okay, how do you not? How do you not? Or is your favorite a few that I've shown people because I thought it would help them get into wrestling? I love showing people funny wrestling with Michael Nakazawa, and I think that is so much fun, and just Japan has a lot of those. So does AAA sometimes. So what is your favorite kind of wrestling? Do you love the death matches, or do you like the funny stuff? Do you like the gimmick matches of on the pole, of like this person on pole match? Or do you like the real holds, Daniel Bryanson. Yeah, Bryan Danielson. I will never get his name right. I greatly apologize, but that is the question of the day. Be sure to comment down below what your answer is, and when I come across my favorite comment, I will be sure to put it in the video. So thank you very much. I have been LJ, and this has been your daily wrestling news over here at the Wrasslin for Life Network. And, keep coming back because we are always putting out all the content. Thank you.